Hi, I'm Clark Carlisle, and today I want to talk a little bit about drunk driving, how many lives are taken each and every day, what we can do to prevent drunk driving, and what the future would look like if we did so. Can any of you imagine your brother, your sister, your son, your daughter, getting in the car with a drunk driver, being the drunk driver, or being around a drunk driver? Neither could the families of Laura Gorman or Joey Romero. The story of Laura Gorman happened on February 25th, 2006. She was 18 years old, a college freshman. She needed a ride home and got in the car with an intoxicated driver. The driver later drove off the road and into a tree. Laura was pronounced dead at the scene. 3 hours after the accident, the driver blew a .12 blood alcohol concentration, well above the .08 blood alcohol concentration to be able to legally drive. Later, the driver was convicted for manslaughter and sentenced to 4 years in prison. The story for Joey Romero was very similar. He was also 18 years old. It was October 29th, 2010. He was walking home from work. Minding his own business, out of nowhere, a car drove off the road onto the sidewalk and ran over Joey. 2 days after the accident, Joey was pronounced dead. The car that fled the scene was found, and the guy was sentenced to 6 years in prison. This is happening way too often in our society. The government is trying all it can to stop this from happening. They can take your license on a first offense up to 90 days. They can impound your car. They have even begun installing breathalyzers in your car that prevent it from starting unless you below a .08 blood alcohol concentration. They've even made it so that insurance companies do not have to provide payments for those who drive drunk and get injured. These are all simple steps that they have been taking, and we must do our part also. Because each and every day, 30 people die in the U.S. from drunk driving. Legally, to drive drunk, you're a drunk driver if you blow a blood alcohol concentration of a .08. If you're under the age of 21, it's a .02. Over half of all drunk drivers are below the age of 21. This is far too many drivers driving on the roads drunk. This is because you're 11 times more likely to get in a crash if you blow a .08 or above. We have to do something about this. In 2011, 4 million drivers admitted to driving drunk at some point throughout the year. This is happening way too often. This is because you can drive drunk 87 times on average without being pulled over. 30% of America will be in a wreck or involved in some form or fashion of an alcohol-related accident. Over the holidays, you're twice as likely to be in an accident over the holidays with a drunk driver, and the same is on the weekends. Your chances double of getting in an accident or being in a wreck with a drunk driver. We've got to do something about it, and we have got to take action. You might ask yourself, what can we do? The first step into stopping drunk driving is drinking responsibly. Knowing what we're doing, knowing your limits, and knowing what to do when you are drunk. Call a designated driver. Ask a friend. Call a taxi. Taxis are all over the world, in many cities across America, and all over the place. They're a simple step taken to preventing drunk driving. And if you cannot do that, just take a friend with you. Call a friend. Call a parent. Do something. But do not drive drunk. Second step is hide your own keys. If you know that you might want to drive drunk, hide your keys from yourself. This is a simple step to do to prevent yourself from driving drunk. If you're throwing a party, throw a responsible party. Provide non-alcoholic beverages. That is very simple. Provide plenty of food. This helps people sober up later in the party so that they can drive if they need to. Also, stop serving alcohol well before the party ends and arrange for alternative transportation if you know you're going to be sending people away. If you are going to send people away and you do not provide alternative transportation, at least let them stay the night if you can. This is a simple step that you can do. Another step you can do is call 911 if you suspect people are driving drunk. Simple ways to tell if somebody's driving drunk is if they're taking very wide turns. They're almost striking objects or people. They're driving very slow. They have very slow reaction time to traffic signals. Or they're braking very erratically or stopping at very random points. These are all simple ways to tell if somebody is driving drunk. If you see this, just call 911. You do not have to be slurring your words to be impaired. There's very many steps that you can do to preventing drunk driving. Like I just said, designated drivers, hiding your keys, throwing responsible parties. You can even take up keys at parties and make them prove to you that they are not drunk before you let them go home. These are all simple steps in doing so. And if you do so, you will clear up the roads and make them a lot safer for everybody else. You will save a lot of lives. Designated drivers save up to 50,000 lives each and every year. This number needs to increase. It is way too low because there's way too many stories about drunk drivers out there. Fatal accidents that are occurring each and every day in our society. You may ask, what would life be like without drunk drivers? I say without drunk drivers, life would be so much better. Roads would be so much safer for the drivers out there that aren't drunk and for the drunk people that are having a good time. Alcohol fatalities have had a 60% drop since 1982 and up to a 31% drop in 2010. This needs to keep going and keep trending the way it is. Roads would be much safer, families would be much safer, innocent people would be saved. And can you imagine being the driver of being behind the wheel whenever you're drunk and killing somebody? This could be incredibly bad for you. Please imagine yourself in that situation. Imagine yourself as a victim and stop somebody from driving drunk. This is what we can do to help our society, to help our government, and to do our part in our society. In conclusion, I'd like to thank all of y'all for listening to my speech. I'd like to review that ways to stop drunk driving is for designated drivers, for hiding keys, taking up keys, throwing responsible parties, and looking out for others, looking out for friends. This is a simple step that you can take, and this could have saved the lives of Laura Gorman and Joe Romero and people all over the United States. Drunk drivers are all over the place, as you can see from the stat in 2011, saying that 4 million people have admitted to driving drunk. That's not even talking about the people that lied and said no. So do your part in our society in stopping people from driving drunk. I thank you all for listening to my speech about drunk driving, and I pray that y'all all take in consideration in saving lives and saving all the people's lives around the world. This is just a small step that we can take and that all of y'all can do in helping us win the war against drunk driving. Thank you all for listening to my speech.